Thank you. I just very briefly wanted to ask on that. Yesterday we had a meeting with kind of Senko's SEN leadership in schools, and they suggested that the right approach would be to put more money into school budgets as opposed to SEN to allow a more inclusive environment. That might mean that then some of those kids didn't need EHC plans and that more intense support later on. Is that something broadly that you support?
Yes, I mean part of what we announced in last month is about making sure that in mainstream schools there is the support there. It goes actually right back to initial teacher training, but then also to in-service training, CPD, the role of educational psychologists and their availability as a resource to be consulted and drawn on. Behaviour management actually is an important consideration as well, and we're committed to having ways of disseminating good practice, best practice on behaviour management as well. So yes, I recognise those points.
Good. I'm conscious that wasn't my question and of time, so I'll just kind of finally, I think we talked a lot in this committee about isolation rooms, and we've heard from young people from schools in London and their own experiences about them. We've also heard that in their experience it wasn't a constructive environment for those children who were in isolation. It was just to get them out of the classroom. The BBC report last year found one school in particular had 5 separate rooms at a cost of £170,000 a year. Is that appropriate for children? Is that a good use of public funds?
Well, we need to make sure that schools have, and they do have to have, a behaviour policy. The use of isolation it's not unlawful, but of course we'd expect it to be done. I'd expect it to be done in a proportionate and constructive way. But this sort of speaks to the wider question of what happens with children who are on the kind of edge, if you like. And also what happens in alternative provision, that, as I say, I think there's a role for exclusion, but that should be the start of something, not just the end of something. So making sure that alternative provision, which, bluntly, most members of Parliament are less likely to, be familiar with alternative provision than with mainstream schooling and so on. We need to make sure that that is of high quality. And of course, I'd expect schools that are using isolation that they're doing it in a constructive and, as I say,
so is the expectation of the DfE that if a child is taken out of their lesson where they're supposed to be learning a curriculum and put into a separate space, that they should be doing something constructive, not just left in a room to stare at the walls?
Well, so one thing I'm very firm on is it's not for me as like an individual minister sitting in a government office or this committee room in London SW1 to start saying this is what should happen in the case of an individual child. I think it's wrong for us always to be second guessing what a teacher does. Teachers know best, but as I say, they should have a behaviour policy, and it should be about using constructive and proportionate means.